You know that everything about you has a purpose. And what I mean is the good and the bad things about yourself. So, every attribute that God gave you, every frustration that God gave you has a reason. Now, the only way for us to truly understand that is we have to change our perspective. POV, we need to submit all of those things, everything under the will of God. We need to take that stuff to Him. We need to ask Him why. Ask God questions. He wants that. That's how we build our relationship. And guess what? Then we need to read our Bible because that's how we get to understand the voice of God. We get to know the characteristics of God. It becomes more clearer then, guys. But if that's not practical enough for you, let me give you some practical questions to ask. Another video I talked to them, told you all, ask, pay attention to, look at who God is placing in your life. God is a God of protection. He's going to put people in your life to protect the promise that He has over your life. Sometimes that's going to be boundaries. That's going to be accountability. That's going to be the things that we may not want sometimes, but things we need. But pay attention to who God is putting in your life. And I want to drop another one here because remember, God is purposeful. I want you to pay attention to the position that God has put you in. That can be current. That can be prior to something that's happened before. What is a position that you keep finding yourself in? That God keeps putting you in. There may be a certain type of job. There may be a certain type of skill set that is needed for the position that God keeps putting you in, but you don't know maybe why. You may be even frustrated with it. You may just be doing it and not even paying attention to that there is intention behind why God has you there. So I want you to ask those two questions and see how God makes it clear for you, because everything that we're out here doing, we got to realize that it is for a purpose and it should not stop with us. We should not just be being and doing. God is calling us to be a part of His story. We are not the main character. So therefore, everything is not predicated around us. Everything does not start and end with us. It is all about God. And if you are a believer, He has called us to go out and be the lights of the world, the salt of the earth. And we can practically do that by paying attention to where He has placed us, who He is placing in our lives. Now, let me go back to that first one. God places people in our lives to protect His promise on our lives, but He also has placed people in our lives that He needs us to speak into, who may not know God, who may be curious, who may be on the same journey, maybe a step away from where we are. That can be a step ahead, a step behind, maybe right at the same place in life we're in. But we got to pay attention because God don't waste nothing. He is purposeful. God's plan is full of protection. It is full of provision. But in the end, this is His story. And we've got to stop and ask Him the steps that we're taking and why.